This question is asking about an entire paragraph, and so I included the sentence before and after the paragraph, just because it's a line reference question and we should generally still follow the +1 sentence rule. Sometimes especially near the end of the passage, the way the paragraphs are put together, one paragraph flows into the next, and so it might reinforce the idea or help us understand it better. So it's just good practice, even when it's a full paragraph, try to follow the +1 sentence rule and get that extra little bit on each side. But as we do this, the more important strategy is going to be about dumb summaries. Remember, we don't need to understand every little nuance of what's happening. We can just focus on the big ideas. And remember, main ideas are repeated ideas. So as I read this, I'm not looking at every little fact that they mention. I'm trying to look at the stuff that comes up again and again and again. So I'm going to show you with the highlighter what I see as I go through, what kind of jumps out. Showing that birds care about syncing their wing beats is definitely an important insight that we didn't have before. Important insight. Scientists do not know how the birds find that aerodynamic sweet spot, but they suspect that the animals align themselves either by sight or by sensing air currents through their feathers. Alternatively, they may move around until they find the location with the least resistance. In future studies, the researchers will switch to more common birds such as pigeons or geese. They plan to investigate how the animals decide who sets the course and the pace, and whether a mistake made by the leader can ripple through the rest of the flock to cause traffic jams. It's a pretty impressive piece of work as it is, but it does suggest that there's a lot more to learn, says Ty Hedrick, blah, 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 I don't care. Cool. So, if I were to dumb summarize what's going on here, notice the things I highlighted aren't really about the birds. What is this paragraph saying again and again and again? It's saying that there are future studies that they want to do because they didn't learn everything that they wanted to learn. And so that's what I'm going to base my answer on. This is going to make this so much easier because I know that a lot of times what happens is we read these heavy science passages and we get distracted by the science or intimidated by the science. And when we don't understand some of the more heavy science words, we assume we didn't understand something important, and that's almost never the case. This is about what they plan to do next. Not about the specifics of all the things that they want to study, but just the fact that they want to study anything at all. So let's look at the choices. Different types of hierarchies exist in each flock of birds. What? Hierarchies? No, I don't... What? That has nothing to do with it. I mean, I guess it talks about animals deciding who's in charge, but notice that's one little spot in the passage, not everywhere throughout it, right? Or in this paragraph. Let's look at B. Mistakes can happen when long-winged birds create a V formation. What? It's not about the mistakes. I mean, yeah, the word mistake is mentioned somewhere near the end, but that's one spot, right? Where we're being asked about the main idea. Main ideas are repeated ideas. The idea of a mistake is not mentioned in the other spot. C. Future research will help scientists to better understand future V formations. Yeah, that's definitely it, 100%. Right? That is an idea that is repeated again and again and again throughout this paragraph. So it matches our dumb summary. It has nothing to do with the birds. It's all about what the scientists are planning. But let's look at D anyway. Long-winged birds watch the lead bird closely to keep a V formation intact. That may be true. I don't know. The word closely is pretty strong. But they do talk about them like, noticing how the animals decide the pace and mistakes. I don't know. But here's the point. The right answer is focusing on something that is kind of not really about the topic of the passage at all, right? This is very common on SAT reading sections if you've done a bunch of them. Science passages usually involve some sort of experiment. They explain the experiment, they get the results of the experiment, and then they talk about what comes next from the experiment. This follows a pretty typical format. But that's not why I'm getting it right here. It's not that I'm using other SATs to guess that that's going to be the answer. But it just highlights something that's very important, is that the science of a passage is not always the main idea of the passage. Or more specifically, there are things that happen in passages that are not just memorizing facts about, in this case, birds. Right? There's bigger themes, there's bigger points that they're trying to make, and dumb summaries can help us notice those things. The reason that A, B, and D are wrong is that we don't care care in this case about the specific science points that are being brought up. But I think what happens is people who, get a little lost in this, they kind of panic. And they assume that they're reading stuff that they don't understand, and that, they're going to pick a choice that also sounds kind of, sciencey and difficult, and they assume, okay, well, at least I have a shot. But I promise you, you understand more than you think. This is not about the specifics of the birds. There's a much bigger theme, and you can see that if we had missed it in one spot or two, it wouldn't have mattered, because main ideas are repeated ideas, and it's repeated again and again throughout the paragraph, so we can have confidence that at some point we'll understand it. And notice that the words that are highlighted aren't hard words either. They're words that you know, right? They do not know, they suspect, in future studies, they plan to investigate, right? Those are all phrases that you would be familiar with. So don't panic when stuff seems hard. There's usually a bigger picture idea. Try to see what I see when you read a passage. Focus on repeated ideas. Stick to dumb summaries. Notice it's not a sentence that I wrote as my dumb summary. It's 2 words. And that got us the answer confidently. That works. That's how you can do it. And it narrows your focus to just the stuff that matters so that you don't get lost in all the other confusing stuff.